Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This gentleman over here is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. Now today, my brothers and sisters, we have got some clips from a speech that Kamala Harris gave around gun violence prevention, and said some of the craziest things, even for her, that we've ever heard, and we cannot wait to share them with you. Everything will be linked in the description box below. But before we play the amazing, magical, incredible clips from Kamala Harris, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and turn the notification bell on. And with that, I always have to start these episodes with Tim. How the hell are you, sir?
I forgot to take Advil. I might have to take a break here.
Before Kamala?
I feel a headache coming on, man.
Well, okay, so we have two. Yes, there is. So for you guys watching The Second Legacy, first of all, thank you for tuning in. And second of all, we're going to have a lot of Kamala. The weather report for this one is a few clips of Kamala Harris. So just buckle up because this is really important. But before we get into this, Tim, do you want to get your Kamala hackle out now, or do you want to save it for an impromptu moment? This is important. Yep.
Do we have a Venn diagram? Anyway, okay, done.
You feel better? You feel better? You got it out?
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, good. We got it out. Okay. So now.
Well, hold on. I would just like to say that I like talking because talking is really important in the world today. And talking, we don't talk enough. But if we talk more, we might be able to talk to each other a little bit better. And that's really important, to communicate and to talk. Okay, I got the word salad out of the way, too. Okay, let's do this.
You feel better? You good? Okay, good.
RVP.
Okay, let me get my deepest, most serious narrative voice on here. Hold on. Mr. Producer, could you play number 1? This is breaking. Vice President Kamala Harris to be a leading voice on gun violence heading into the 2024 cycle. Okay, so what that means, we're going to hear a whole lot more of Kamala around gun violence and the scourge of the epidemic that we face in our country from what they call it going into the election with Biden for the next 16 months. So buckle up, people, because we got a lot of stuff to cover. So that's the impetus for this entire video. We've got some clips. So first, Mr. Producer, could you play number 2? Because we got to open it with this.
Are so proud of you, and we care about you, and we want you to soar. And we have a deep and profound sense of responsibility to allow you to dream and to be safe.
Oh, yeah, and guns. Yeah. She forgot why she was there.
I don't even.
We're so proud of you. We love you. Group hug, everybody.
To dream.
Just so proud.
To dream and to be safe and to be or not to be. That is the question.
She's such a great orator and such a deep thinker.
So good.
Just, I stand in awe at her intelligence.
Yep.
You know, it's just, I'm just so thankful that we have her leading something.
The gun violence. She's a leading voice, Tim.
Oh, the leading gun violence. I mean, we got to bring those guns in. Those things are extremely violent, inanimate objects.
They are.
Let's not talk about the people that are actually violent. Let's just talk about the inanimate objects.
They're imbued with malice. A lot like the Ring in Lord of the Rings. They're just imbued with all the hatred and malice of everything, of all the generations. Inside those guns.
Much.
Yep. Well,
so we got the word salad out of the way.
Yeah, we got the word salad out of the way. But here's the thing, guys, and we're being very tongue-in-cheek because honestly it helps the pain. But this is incredibly important because when you get down on politicians like this and when you get down on how ineffective that they are, they're always going to tell you something that if you're listening, you should be extremely concerned about. So I'm going to skip to a segment that's outside, like at the back end of this speech that was tucked in, which you're probably not going to hear anywhere. But listen to this, and we're going to break this down because this is the one that you need to hear. So, Mr. Producer, will you play number 7, please?
And I will tell you that I think we all do believe, I certainly do, that the right to be safe is also a civil right.
Holy crap.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Because I do have a right to be safe. And I'll do that with my firearm at my side. Thank you for protecting my civil rights. Veep.
So here's the thing that stood out to me on that. And this is, in my opinion, that is one of the more important things that we could cover of this entire, I don't even want to call it a speech. It's called a fanfare. But you just had the sitting vice president not only say that safety is considered a civil right now. So that means it's the same. Safety is the same as voting, Second Amendment, freedom of speech, all the things that they fought for in the 60s for the rights of the population. Now safety is one of them. Now, this is a very important thing that they consistently do. Remember, Tim, in both of our lifetimes, of course, where they said healthcare is a human right, and then they just conflate everything with a right because driving a car is a right. But that Second Amendment of yours, no. That's not a right. That's a privilege that needs to be regulated by the government for the civil right of safety. Holy crap.
Yeah. I mean, this is so common for her ilk to do this. You know, what they're doing is yanking on people's, emotional strings, right? And so if they invoke the name of civil rights, this is a civil right issue. This isn't about anything else, but this is about your right to be safe. You're absolutely right. We do have a right to be safe, which is why we have a Second Amendment, because she doesn't say in that speech that we're going to, put $400 billion towards law enforcement so we can put a police officer on every street corner to make sure you're safe. You are your own first responder. You cannot live safely unless you are equipped to be able to defend yourself, your family, and your loved ones. So what she's saying has truth to it, but she has it turned completely around.
Exactly. It's providing safety from the state downward, not the population. The reason that this really strikes a lot of chords, if you know anything of history in the 20th century, there's a lot of people who did some pretty bad things who said the exact same things and used that to curtail rights, which then led to World War II. I mean, like, some very bad things. But don't worry, it's a little bit better because, after all, Tim, what is true freedom? Let's go to clip number 3 because Harris has it.
In every community should have the freedom to live and to thrive. And we know none of that is possible. True freedom is not possible if people are not safe.
So let's translate that.
Yeah.
True freedom is not possible unless we take your freedoms away.
Exactly.
You can only live free if you don't have freedom.
Be free unless the government makes sure that you are unfree and safe. You cannot be free in your free range situation, since we're a bunch of chickens apparently. You have to be in a cage where you can be protected. There are coyotes out there, and you never know when the next bird flu is going to come around. You need to be safe. You need to be inoculated. You need to be provided for, because after all, true freedom is being safe.
And you hear the same narrative. You hear the same narrative coming from multiple different sources on the far left, right?
Like George Orwell.
Yep. You'll see it from the talking heads on Twitter. You see it everywhere. We're even seeing it coming out of the Catholic Church. Right? We have high-ranking officials within the Catholic Church going out there saying, we really do need to enjoy our freedoms more by voluntarily walking away from the Second Amendment. Just give up your rights to live free.
Yep.
This is an oxymoron. You can't have the two. They don't complement each other. They're mutually exclusive. So this line of logic is so twisted. But again, the people that buy into it don't think about it. They just go, "Oh yes, I should be able to live free from everything, and so all I got to do is give up my rights to get there, and the government's going to take care of me because they've done it so well historically."
Yep. Something that I like to say on my channel is freedom is not a currency of which to buy safety. That is what she is advocating, for you to purchase safety with your freedoms. If you back out, and this is one of those episodes where we get real broad based off of a very small context. If you back this out and you look at, freedom of speech, what have they done with freedom of speech recently? They said, that's offensive speech. You should have a free speech zone right over there. And they floated all of these things. If you've been paying attention, they are putting rights in little buckets to where they can be controlled. The free speech zone of which you're implying is called America. It's not called 5th and 6th, the blocks of 5th and 6th. It's all of that city. It's the whole country. But they don't do that because, words are offensive and silence is violence. And you could really hurt someone's sensibilities. And just go over there and be safe and be free. That way we're all better protected. Holy crap.
And this has been going on for a long time, too. I believe it was the Bill Clinton administration where Bill Clinton tried to pass a law or was pushing for a law that would prohibit media from talking negatively about political candidates 30 or 60 days before an election.
Mm-hmm. I think it was the Fairness Act. I think it was against talk radio, I believe.
Because at that time, social media wasn't a thing, right? It was just up and coming.
That was the social media.
Right. So, the Rush Limbaughs of the world back then. So they were trying to silence political criticisms of candidates, which is precisely why we have a free press to talk about the negative sides of those that we're looking to elect to represent us.
Correct.
And so this is something that they've been doing for a long time, and they always wrap it in the blanket of freedom. We just want you to give up your First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment rights. It's all for security. I think I think there was a famous person out there once that said something about trading security and freedom.
Are you talking about Benny Franks? Benny Franks?
Right? I mean, this has been going on throughout our history. This is nothing new. Our founders warned us of this, yet here we are doing it again.
Yep. Those who would purchase safety by getting us their freedoms or something. I can't remember the exact quote, but yeah, that's the idea.
It's Ben Franklin, but yeah.
Yeah, Benny Franks, man. Benny Franks. Well, don't worry, because all these platitudes were wrapped up in some pretty atrocious lies. Let's get to the first one. Mr. Producer, could you play number 4, please?
The number one cause of death of the children in America is gun violence. The number one cause of death for the children of America is gun violence.
There's only one problem with that, Tim. Do you know what that problem is?
It's a lie.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a lie, because if you guys would follow all the statistics and all the reports that they continue to cite, you would know, and surprisingly, the speechwriter doesn't know this because that is an overt lie. The report that they're citing came out in the first talking points of last year. I believe it was earlier this year, late last year. The first talking points were gun violence is the number one cause of all children deaths in the United States. And they quickly adapted it to children and adolescents is the number one cause for, the number one cause for deaths for children and adolescents is gun violence. And the reason that they did that was because when you look at the actual study of which they're citing, it's 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who they are referencing as children, because the largest groups, and it was all homicide, by the way, and it was all upper teens into early 20s, and they're calling those children. That's what they're trying to convince you to give up your rights for, because it's a really good talking point. The only problem is it's seriously false.
You know what kills a lot of Americans? Fentanyl overdoses. And guess where that comes from? It comes over our southern border. Guess who's in charge of securing our southern border? Let's hope Harris is as effective at her little push for fixing gun violence, which doesn't exist. I hope her efforts there are as successful as they have been on the southern border, because she doesn't do anything. I don't even think she's been to the southern border. So maybe she'll just say she'll accept this role and just go off and talk about Venn diagrams somewhere and not even talk about it anymore. I mean, we can only hope.
That was an excellent tie-in. Very astute, sir. You must have done this before. That was an amazing tie-in. That's very true, because it just so happens that Tim is right. She is the border czar, or the border person who's on it, who's never been to the border, who's been to the border, who's been to the border, but they're going to border, but she's been to Europe. What? Anyway.
She just went to Europe, but before she went to Europe, she hadn't even been to Europe, which is what she used to justify not going to the Mexican border. I mean, this woman is a mess.
It really is. Genuinely, she is a mess. But here, and if there is a tiny, and I mean like minuscule, silver lining to this cloud, is that we are going to have content for days from this woman talking about gun violence in the 2024 election cycle. But again, that's kind of like do I have to? But, whatever.
Yeah.
So now we've got 2 clips. If you guys are still with us, you get the endurance reward, because, here we go. Mr. Producer, we got to do a second lie. Could you do number 5, please?
And consider weapons of war. Weapons that were designed to kill a lot of people quickly. It's just common sense to believe that they have no place on the streets of a civil society.
A civil society. Is it possible, Tim, that maybe, just maybe, our Second Amendment rights keep us a civil society? And as a follow-up, what about our society right now is civil?
Yeah. Our major cities have fallen into complete chaos. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, weapons of war, another one of their, focus group tested phrases, right? Weapons of war. Okay. Literally every single weapon that you can think of has been used in warfare. Swords, knives, explosives, firearms, bows and arrows, spears. Weapons of war don't belong on our streets. Translated, you shouldn't own firearms, because that's what she's talking about. And if you go back and look at her voting record and the things she said publicly, this whole notion that you can have your Second Amendment rights and reasonable gun control too, that's the big lie. That Absolutely. If you go back and look at her voting record, look at Biden's voting record, they're telling you that, but what they're really planning on doing is taking them all away. Dianne Feinstein said it famously. She said the quiet part out loud. If I had the votes, Mr. and Mrs. America, I'd round them all up. I just don't have the votes. And this is exactly where she stands and Biden stands. So they got to tell you a lie to your face and just wrap it in the blanket of, this is just reasonable. And this is just, everybody caring and doing their civic duty. Just give up those rights. But in reality, we want them all. And that's what they're going for.
I completely agree. In fact, I don't know how you did it, Tim, because I don't think you watched this clip, but the next clip is just about that. Mr. Producer, this is our final clip. Number 6, please.
And on the subject of gun safety laws, it is a false choice. It is a false choice to suggest that we have to choose between either supporting the Second Amendment or passing reasonable gun safety laws. We can do both. We can do both. And the majority of NRA members support background checks for all gun purchases.
She bounces around so much in this. In one second, NRA is evil, and the other second, the NRA supports it, so you should be on board. In the next second, she vilifies the NRA again, then weapons of war, then common sense, then red flag. I mean, literally, this woman's all over the place. She's all over the map. But that right there, talk to me. What do you think about that?
So, common sense gun laws, and whatever phrase that she used there, it's just reasonable, and it's just common sense, and we can have, common sense gun laws and preserve the Second Amendment. But the problem is, look at her record. What she is calling common sense gun laws, translated, gun bans. She wants to take them all away. All weapons of war. That's every single weapon ever designed and manufactured, as we've already talked about. Yep. So she's lying to your face. She's wrapping it up in warm, fuzzy language and trying to, obscure her true intentions. And people are just in the crowds. Oh, yay, yay, yay. It's so nauseating.
It is. It's 100% nauseating. So to wrap this up, the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, in one speech, went from you can't truly be free until you have no freedom. Safety is now a civil right, so mark that down. You can't have weapons of war on the streets in a civil society. Let's see, what else? What are some other ones that we hit here, Tim? Weapons of war, bad. She lied about the death of children. True freedom, and to dream and be safe, and to be into safe, and to be into safe dream, and want to be profoundly responsible. I don't even know the beginning part. But this is really concerning. Like on a legitimate level, she's conflating safety over your freedoms, and to be truly free, you have to give it up. This is George Orwell, 1984 level stuff. Slavery is freedom. Freedom is slavery. Literally, it's from the dang book.
Yep. But thankfully, she's, woefully under-equipped to do much of anything. She'll just go out there and throw up word salads, and chances are she won't talk much about it at all. That's what I'm hoping, because she comes off as a complete idiot every time she gets in front of a microphone. And so, they tend to hide her away. They definitely hide Biden away. I think going into the 2024, their only real strategy to winning the election is hiding them away again, because every time they go out and get in the public eye, they make complete buffoons out of themselves, except for their, little percentage of, worshipers that will clap at anything she says. But, regular Americans look at her and think she's a complete moron. So I don't think they're going to put a whole lot of stock in what she has to say. I'm hoping.
I'm hoping that too. But legitimately, this is the reason that people are so concerned with our future, because she literally just sat in front of an audience of high schoolers and said, oh, you're going to have no rights. We're going to make you so free, you won't even understand how free you are, because the little area of which you'll be safe in is so free, but you'll be safe because safe is free and free is safe. And therefore, you're taken care of. Holy crap.
I know.
Oh, God.
Well, but, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. And I'm sure the few more times that she will get in front of a camera is going to give us plenty of content to
it's going to be so tasty,
have some fun with. Yeah, I mean, this woman is a walking gaffe, just like her boss. So we'll see how this plays out. It should be an interesting election cycle for sure. They almost always are, but it seems like they get more and more interesting every cycle because we get weirder and weirder candidates. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to be part of our call-in show, there is a link in the video description below. Follow that link, answer some questions. We'll contact you, get you on the show. You can ask a question or make a statement, and we'll talk about whatever is of interest to you at that time. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you guys soon.